Well, car repairs are inevitable necessities for most people, but if you own a classic car, finding a mechanic is not always easy.
A Knoxville man thought he had found the right guy to work on his old Mercedes in early 2014, but what is a reasonable amount of time to get the job done?
That's the question here. The owner of the Mercedes called 6 on Your Side consumer investigator Don Dare, who also talked with the mechanic.
We sure
Interesting
did.
story.
The mechanic says he needs time to get the car done. The owner of the car says the mechanic has had enough time to get the car done. Specialty car repair shops, those that work on imports, for example, tend to be privately owned small businesses. You are usually on a more personal level with these people. The man you're going to meet took his 47-year-old import to an independent shop, paid 2/3 of the bill up front, and was told it would be repaired within a month or two. But tonight, a year and a half later, he's still waiting to drive his car home.
These are the last images that I've seen of my car.
Ryan McElveen wants his vintage car back.
This is me the day that I got my car.
He bought this 1968 Mercedes, his dream car, in March 2013. It's a 250 SL model, kind of unique. However, he hasn't seen it in a year and a half. In February 2014, he took it to Eurohouse Motorsports in West Knoxville to have the engine rebuilt.
When I first dropped the car off, I was told that it would take 3 weeks to rebuild the engine. And then 3 weeks passed, and then it became 2 months, and then 6 months, and then a year, and then a year and a half.
He gave the shop owner $3,000 up front. Ryan says the remaining $1,500 is due when the job is done. He has the money ready to pay for the work, but after 18 months, the car isn't ready.
And every time I ask him when the car is going to be done, the answer is always the same: I'll have it done next week.
We talked with Ryan a month ago. He was clearly frustrated with the shop owner.
I'm me,
This is the man he's upset with, Robert Berry. You'll hear from him in a moment. At Berry's shop, we found the Mercedes up in a rack, the motor out of the car. Confidence lost in his mechanic, Ryan simply wants the vehicle.
I've asked him to just give me my property back in whatever state he wants to give it back in. I'll take it back in all of its pieces at this point.
We spoke with Robert Berry 12 days ago.
like I explained to Ryan, you can't just leave his car on that lift and wait on parts. You have to take other jobs in to make sure everything goes. I mean, it's.
But is a year and a half a reasonable amount of time to get the work done?
If I worked on it every day and had parts, no, that's not a reasonable amount. I mean, I've had complications.
Mr. Berry says he was injured for a while last year and couldn't work on Ryan's car. He says getting parts for the old Mercedes took time. Plus, there were everyday situations at the shop.
I've got 2 guys here working, and we do the best we can do, and the stuff we work on is it's not your new stuff. Everything we work on, we run into problems. When we took it apart,
the Mercedes engine is completely torn down, and Mr. Berry says he's added new rings and gaskets.
I'm taking a loss here, but I'm also doing a quality job.
Why didn't you just simply tell him at the very beginning, this is going to take time, maybe a year, year and a half?
Because I just didn't tell him that because I hadn't planned on it taking a year, year and a half.
Here is a post that I posted.
Ryan turned to Facebook in June asking anyone if he was the only customer facing problems with Robert Berry. He discovered others had similar experiences. We were curious and went to the courthouse to check for any cases against Robert Berry. We found several. The latest filed June 1st. The facts are very similar to what Ryan McElveen is facing.
As soon as I get it to where it's drivable, he'll have it.
He said, stop the work, give me the bill, let me have the car.
I'm going to finish what I've started doing,
When will you have it finished?
I will do my best to have it running by next week, first of next week.
That was almost 2 weeks ago.
I have not heard from him in the last 12 days.
No word.
No word.
I'm here trying to help the customer. Yeah, it's taken longer than what it should have, but that's just the way the chips fall.
Ryan McElveen is taking Robert Berry to court.
I want my car back. I mean, that's all I've ever wanted was my car back.
And earlier today, we talked with Robert Berry on the phone. He says he's almost finished with Ryan's car and is hoping to have it done by the time he's due in court on Wednesday of this week. Ryan is suing Robert Berry to get his car back. Berry reiterated that he tries to be fair to all of his customers. And Stephanie and Lori, we'll see how this goes on Wednesday when it gets before a judge.
Consumer investigator Don Dare has a follow-up on this story, ending, hopefully, Don, this long saga.
It has been a long saga. Months of frustration are over for Ryan McElveen. Imagine your car at the repair shop for a year and a half after first being told the engine overhaul would take about a month. That was the situation when Ryan McElveen first contacted 6 on Your Side in early July. He had no trouble with the quality of work by the owner of the shop, but he was fed up waiting and just wanted his car returned, whether it was finished or not. He had to go to court to get that done. Ryan McElveen has his vintage car back. The Mercedes is at a new repair shop, but it's not all in one piece. The motor to his 250 SL appears to be all together. However, are all the pieces there?
This is kind of telling.
Ooh. The trunk is full of parts.
That's the rest of the car. Fan, hoses, reservoir, looks like alternator over there, water pump, oil pump. This is what I was concerned about, is all of these little things. On an older car, this is a 1968, it's a 47-year-old car. When you take it apart, you know, you've got brackets and hoses and clamps and all that sort of thing that are difficult to replace because they're original to the car.
Ryan says the parts were put in his trunk when the car left Eurohouse Motorsports in West Knoxville a week ago.
Here's your pistons. Here's your block.
Eurohouse owner Robert Berry told us late last month he originally thought it would take less than a month to fix the car's engine. But the car stayed at his shop for 18 months after he was given $3,000 in February 2014. Another $1,500 was due when the car was ready. Here is a frustrated Ryan McElveen at the beginning of July.
Well, when I first dropped the car off, I was told that it would take 3 weeks to rebuild the engine. And then 3 weeks passed, and then it became 2 months, and then 6 months, and then a year, and then a year and a half.
Early last month, Ryan had just one request for Robert Berry.
I would like for him to stop all work on it and just give me my car and all my parts back.
I'm going to finish what I've started doing, you know.
When will you have it finished?
I will do my best to have it running by next week, first of next week.
That was July 22nd. 2 weeks later, the job still not done. Ryan McElveen had Robert Berry in court, and Judge Tony Stansbury ordered the Mercedes returned to its owner. Here's your car.
That's it. It's the first time I've seen it in a long time.
Ryan says he'll likely never understand why he had to fight Robert Berry to get his car back. The Mercedes is now at Eurotech, operated by Rick Berry, Robert's younger brother. We found out cars are repaired on time at this shop in West Knoxville with no customer complaints, according to the Better Business Bureau.
So they're going to finish putting the engine back together, what hasn't been done, and then reassemble the clutch and put the engine back in.
So far, what we see, everything looks pretty good.
Mechanic Todd Dernbach will be putting the engine back together. He says Robert Berry did reassemble it, but the engine still needs to be checked closely. How long will this job take you, Todd?
Realistically, if everything goes well, probably a couple days.
Couple of days.
If that. I mean, you know, it just depends on if everything's there.
Ryan says he has full faith in his new mechanic and the shop where his motor is being reassembled. He's looking forward to getting his car back on the road and says the ordeal has been a learning experience.
Don't give people money up front. You know, I thought that he was a trustworthy guy, and I was wrong.
Robert Berry told us today he did a lot of work on the car, quality work, and while he did not plan to take so long completing Ryan's engine, Berry said he takes his time to get the job done right so there are no complaints. The complaint in this case had been 18 months was not a reasonable amount of time to get the job done.